Hello YouTube, this is Dawson Rider here with my third blog. I'll be talking about Kamen Rider Dragon Knight today. Sorry about how long my last blog was, but I had a lot to say about the end of Power Rangers, so I apologize for that, and hopefully most of my blogs won't be 2 parts, or at least full 10-minute parts. Alright, so Kamen Rider Dragon Knight is the adaptation of Kamen Rider Ryuki, one of my favorite Heisei Rider series, but I don't want to talk about Ryuki on this blog. Let me go over the plot of Dragon Knight first, what I thought of it. Overall, in the end, the plot I felt was very well crafted for Dragon Knight. It was pretty much, at least for me, totally original from Kamen Rider Ryuki. I felt as though they didn't plan it out very well though, because like the first batch of episodes seemed really slow, revealing stuff. Things were moving, just like I said, a very slow pace, as if they had all the time in the world. And then like near the end, it seemed like then they kind of had to rush things and introduce all these concepts very quickly. At least that's the way it seemed to me. The first batch of episodes mainly dealt with Kit discovering the Riders and Wing Knight kind of having to accept them and mentor him, and then him being deceived by Torque and just kind of getting used to the whole concept of Xaviax and him giving the decks to the Earth Riders. The beginning was very touch and go for me. I liked some of it and didn't like some of it. It was just very, very like a love-hate relationship in the beginning. When it came back, it had quite a long hiatus, and then it came back, I really started enjoying it a lot more. Things revved up in story, things with the other riders got more intense. They introduced Case and kind of got you more of a sense of what it was like for the Ventarn Riders. Overall, just that whole second half was a lot better. They really started to get the plot together more, and a more steady pace of revealing stuff. And up until the point where they went into what I call the third act, is when Kit, in Case prevented, and it appeared Wing Knight was all alone again, and then they introduced Master Ubilon, Iron Chef Man, and then they started bringing back the Ventarn Riders, and that's when the plot really started kicking up. So overall, like I said, I think the plot was very well done. It was very much a surprise. So I'll just go over my likes and dislikes, I think. Let's talk about what I didn't like first. Well, what I didn't like was the overuse of slow-mo. Now, I'm not like a slow-mo hater, I guess you could say, but there were parts where it was overdone and not necessary. There were parts where it could be cool, but I think it was just overdone to over-appeal to kids maybe, I don't know. What I didn't like also was, like I said at the very beginning of this, is the beginning was so slow-paced, like they would just have so much time to do stuff. And even though they don't have as little episodes as like Power Rangers had recently, 32, they didn't have as many as Rider series in Japan or Sentai series in Japan. So they really took their time, and then in the end it didn't seem too rushed, but it seemed like they had to introduce a lot quickly. So I didn't like that. I didn't like some little inconsistencies, such as Dragon Knight in the beginning. Kit was the only one that needed to contract his monster, and he had the blank form, which just seemed very, catering to the footage, obviously, but that seemed so, especially after the end, it seemed so unnecessary. Like, I feel like they could have worked around it. They could have just had the scene where he gets the deck and they could have shown the blank form coming into Dragon Knight, but they could have done something different and not used that scene where Shinji's all confused. That was a major inconsistency for me. Another little thing I didn't like was about Adam. Obviously, again in terms of the footage, Shinji wasn't the best fighter of all the riders in Ryuki, so his fighting was a little bit more clumsy. He wasn't so professional. But, Adam, being a Ventarn rider, and we saw how Ubilon gave him powers, he should have had a lot more skill than he did, and Kit basically kicked his ass, and as far as we know, Kit never got, the Ventarn powers. So I just thought that was an inconsistency, that Kit was so shitty at fighting not Kit, Adam was so shitty at fighting, being original Ventarn rider. Seems like there was a little more things I didn't like. The clip shows, that's probably my biggest complaint, is with the amount of stuff they wanted to get in the end, those 3 clip shows didn't really need to be there. The only one I could have lived with maybe is the one, I think, when we came back from break, or I don't remember whether it was right before the break or we came back. Maybe they needed one between the hiatus, if you hadn't watched the show yet or you forgot. But they didn't need one after every major event. Especially the last episode being a clip show. I mean, the last few minutes of the last episode and some of the epilogue stuff was really nice, but the last episode being a clip show, I was like, what the fuck? Seriously? Like, they could have used that whole episode to explain what's been going on with the Earth Riders, the Ventaran Riders, maybe even shown them cleaning up getting all the Ventaran Riders off Karsh. Yeah, that's right. I just think that could have been so much better utilized. But things I liked were the action sequences. In my opinion, basically from what I've seen, with the exception of a few scenes, the American Kamen Riders, similar to Power Rangers, does have better choreographed fight scenes, a lot more action-oriented, and obviously they have some real martial artists in there, such as Matt Mullins and the guy who plays Master Jubilant, I forget his name right now. But the fight scenes were very well choreographed, a lot of great action, which really made the show enjoyable. I liked the whole alien theme. Like, the fact that Maya wrote for like a sci-fi thing was kind of like a side note to me. I never really thought about it, and the Kamen Riders just being another story for her. But the fact that the whole Kamen Riders were created by an alien, and that whole kind of tied into this sci-fi alien thing, I really liked that. Like, it was just a big like an overlapping tone that I just never expected. So what else did I like? I liked all the Ventaran Riders' jackets. Those were pretty badass. I really liked those a lot. I liked the fact that they had, well, in some ways, a traditional story. They kind of borrowed plot elements from Spider-Man for the black suit and Star Wars with Adam's backstory. But I liked the fact that I wasn't expecting what they did with Onyx. I always assumed that Adam was going to come back vengeful, that his deck belonged to someone else now, and maybe Xaviax created his own deck, which would be Onyx. But I did not expect for Kit to be brought back from the Advent Void with Onyx's deck and being all badass, and I thought that was really cool and a really great way to do it. And personally, if I was Kit, with the exception of Survive Mode being on the Dragon Knight, I would have picked Onyx's deck. But anyway, that brings me to the point of another thing I didn't like, is that weird episode where Kit had the dreams of venting Wing Knight and Siren. Obviously the Siren footage is from Ryuki, and so they had to use it somehow. But I just didn't like that. I mean, even though they explained it later as the dream and the rage of the Advent Beast, it just seemed out of place for what they were planning later, almost like they changed their minds. I don't know. Another thing I didn't like. But overall, the series was really great. It's a fantastic series. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, is that I think it equals Ryuki in the end. I thought it was really an outstanding series, lots of action, great story, some pretty good acting from some of the characters. I want to thank everyone involved in it. You did a great job. I'm really sorry it didn't do better. I really think that it could have gone further. I mean, the ending, I loved the ending, how they left it open at the end. I think they could have easily gone another season, even on Ryuki, because they had so much American footage. I'm sure they could have done another season using great American footage as well as backlog Ryuki footage, but maybe we'll never know. I wish another network would have gotten a hold of it, maybe done a better job, maybe Cartoon Network. I know some people don't like Cartoon Network, you know, doing stuff other than cartoons, but I think they would have done a lot better job. But that's all beside the point of the show. But it's a great, outstanding show. I really loved it. I'll miss it. I miss seeing it on Saturday mornings. I miss having an American Kamen Rider show. It was just overall really great. So that concludes my thoughts on Dragon Knight, basically. I just thought it was a pretty awesome show. If you haven't checked it out, you should definitely check it out. Totally different than Ryuki. It won't spoil you at all. I was worried about that at the beginning. It won't spoil you at all. My next blog, I'm hoping actually to do it on the Spider-Man franchise. Because it was been on TV quite a bit and I was watching it and then hearing all the news, it just freshened my mind, so it'll be a totally different topic. So I appreciate those of you that have subscribed and sat through my two-part RPM message. So until my next review, this is Dawson Rider, signing out.